You wake up. You move your feet off the bed, plant them on the floor, and feel that familiar heaviness in your legs. It's not pain exactly, just tiredness. That dull, dragging sense that your limbs have been aging faster than you. You tell yourself it's nothing, just one of those mornings. But then it happens again the next day, and the next. You take the stairs a little slower. You pause a little longer before standing. You sit more than you used to, not because you want to, but because your legs don't feel like they used to carry you. And quietly, in your own home, with no audience and no applause, you begin to wonder, am I slowly breaking down? We like to tell ourselves it's just age, as if aging were a switch that flipped overnight. But deep down, you know that's not entirely true. You've met people 10 years older than you who still move with energy. You've read stories of 80-year-olds walking marathons, swimming laps, dancing. So why do you, maybe at 50, 60, or 70, feel like simply getting up from a chair takes effort? Why does your balance feel slightly off? Why does your strength disappear, not with a bang, but in the quiet everyday movements you once did without? Thinking? It's subtle, isn't it? It doesn't come all at once. It's a slow erosion, not just of muscle, but of confidence, not just of speed, but of independence. And while you try to ignore it, while you hope it passes, somewhere inside, there's a growing whisper, a question you're almost afraid to ask. Is this just the beginning of decline? Or is there something I'm missing? Here's the truth, and it might surprise you. What if I told you that your decline in leg strength may not be a result of what you're not doing, but what you're already doing every single morning? What if your breakfast, that innocent, quiet ritual, is silently sabotaging your strength? Now I know that sounds dramatic, but let me ask you this. Have you ever eaten something that left you strangely tired afterward? Have you noticed that some mornings, despite getting a full night's rest, your legs still feel like they've been through battle? Have you ever eaten healthy foods only to feel heavier, slower, more swollen by midday? It's not your imagination. And it's not always your age. Sometimes it's the choices you make in the first 30 minutes of your day. Choices you were told were healthy, responsible, even necessary, that set off a chain reaction in your body. A reaction that, over time, wears down your circulation, dulls your nervous system, and weakens your ability to move freely. And what makes it even more difficult is that the damage isn't loud. It's quiet. It accumulates silently. Millions of people around the world start their day with what they believe is a healthy breakfast. They pour orange juice into a glass. They cut up bananas or blend fruit into smoothies. They spread jam on whole wheat toast. They reach for cereal, marked heart healthy or low fat. And they do this with full sincerity, trusting the labels, the trends, the advice from decades ago. Because it's fruit, it's whole grain, it's natural. It must be good. But what if some of these exact choices, especially when made in isolation, on an empty stomach, are creating blood sugar spikes that stress your nervous system and damage the tiny vessels in your legs? What if some of these foods are causing inflammation in your joints without you realizing it? What if the very things you believe are helping you stay strong are actually taking strength away from you, day by day? You see, the body doesn't react in shouts. It reacts in whispers. And unless we've been trained to listen to those whispers, a dull ache here, a sluggish morning there, that quiet swelling in your ankles that you shrug off, we miss them. We normalize them. We call them aging. And in doing so, we ignore the root of what could be changed. And maybe that's the most heartbreaking part. Not that strength disappears, but that so much of it could have been saved if only someone had shown us how. But no one did. Not really. Because no one told us how our nervous system slows when starved of essential nutrients. No one warned us how high glycemic fruits first thing in the morning could harm muscle oxygenation. No one explained that muscle loss isn't always about inactivity. Sometimes it's about your body no longer receiving the signal to move. Because when breakfast sends the wrong message, your muscles don't just get weaker. They go silent. And so you keep walking a little slower. You keep standing a little shakier. You chalk it up to age when it's actually messaging, input, signaling, the way food, stress, rest, and movement speak to your brain, your spinal cord, your motor neurons, and how all of them, together, decide whether your muscles stay alive or fade into dormancy. But here's the part that should give you hope. You haven't lost it. Not yet. That heaviness in your thighs, that stiffness in your knees, that frustrating moment where you feel like your legs aren't listening to you the way they used to, that's not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that your body is still listening. It's just been fed the wrong message for too long. You can change the message. You can reawaken the signal. You can choose a breakfast that speaks life back into your legs. But we're not going to rush into that. Because before you can change what you do, you have to first change what you believe. You have to believe that healing is possible. That decline isn't guaranteed. That fatigue is not your identity. So let me ask you, gently, have you ever suspected that something you were doing every day might be quietly making you weaker? Have you ever had the courage to question the routines you were told to follow? And if so, did anyone ever truly answer you? Feel free to share what you felt. I read every comment. And you never know, your words might help someone else realize they're not alone in this either. Because what we're uncovering isn't just about food. It's about trust. About how many of us trusted the wrong things. About how many of you've lived decades doing the right thing, only to feel weaker, heavier, slower than we should. But there's beauty in that too. Because it means we didn't fail. We were misled. And now we get to rewrite the story. And I promise you this, your body has not given up. It's still waiting. Quietly, patiently, asking for the signal that tells it to rise again. Are you ready to give it that signal? It starts with awareness. Not drastic change, not strict routines, not punishing discipline. Just awareness. The kind that makes you pause when your spoon touches the bowl in the morning and ask, is this really giving me strength, or just the illusion of energy? Because not all fuel is created equal. Some meals excite the body briefly, only, to leave it emptier than before. Others nourish slowly, deeply, quietly, the kind of nourishment you don't notice immediately, but you feel it hours later when your legs hold steady and your mood doesn't crash at noon. And here's something many people don't know. Your muscles, especially the ones in your legs, are incredibly sensitive to blood sugar changes. When your first meal of the day sends your blood sugar soaring and crashing, it doesn't just affect your energy or mood. It starves the small vessels in your legs. It reduces the oxygen and nutrient delivery to your largest muscle groups. It leaves your quadriceps, hamstrings, calves, even the stabilizing muscles in your feet, underfed, quietly underfed, repeatedly underfed, and just like a neglected garden, they begin to shrink. You don't feel it in one day. You feel it in tiny hesitations. The moment you grab a railing, the little ache that wasn't there before. The way your steps become more cautious without you realizing it. We don't call it injury. We call it being careful. But the truth is, when the body doesn't feel supported on the inside, it becomes afraid to move on the outside. So, what kind of breakfast sends the wrong signal? Think of the typical healthy morning plate. A tall glass of fruit juice, a slice of whole wheat toast with jam, a banana on the side, maybe some yogurt, often flavored, often sweet. It sounds harmless. It even sounds wholesome. But physiologically, it's a sugar storm. Fructose, glucose, maltose, all hitting the bloodstream fast, all spiking insulin, all sending the nervous system into overdrive before your muscles have even woken up. And once insulin spikes, fat storage increases. Once cortisol rises to keep your sugar levels stable, inflammation follows. Your legs feel heavier, not because you're overweight, but because your cells are bloated with confusion. The signals are scrambled. Your mitochondria, the tiny energy factories in your muscle cells, get flooded with sugar, then shut down from the overload. Instead of feeling ready to move, your muscles feel foggy, flat, faint. This isn't about blaming. Breakfast. It's about unlearning breakfast. We were raised in a world that celebrated cereal boxes with cartoons and orange juice as the perfect start. But those messages weren't based on biology. They were based on marketing. And many of us, especially those of us now in our 50s, 60s, and beyond, built our entire lives around those ideas. We passed them to our children. We believed them without question. And now we're living with the consequences, not as punishment, but as a delayed message from the body. The good news? Your body never stops responding to truth. Even now, even after years of routine, even if your legs have grown weak. The moment you feed it something real, something grounded, stabilizing, supportive, it responds. But it needs consistency. Not intensity, not a trendy cleanse, not a radical shift, just a better first step. So, what does a better breakfast look like? It looks like protein, a real source of amino acids, eggs, for example, or clean plant-based protein, if you prefer. It looks like healthy fats, avocado, a small handful of nuts, a teaspoon of olive oil in your pan. It looks like non-sugary fiber, sautéed spinach, mushrooms, a slice of zucchini, even leftover veggies from dinner if you're feeling simple. It looks like food. It doesn't give you a rush. It gives you grounding. And most importantly, it gives your nervous system a chance to feel safe. That's the part we don't talk about enough. The nervous system, the way it governs your balance, your reflexes, your posture, your control. When you spike your blood sugar first thing in the morning, your nervous system is forced to fight. It's thrown into survival. And a body in survival does not move with grace. It does not feel stable. It does not trust itself. But when your first meal is steady, the nervous system relaxes. Blood flow increases. Oxygen delivery improves. The signal from your brain to your muscles becomes sharper, clearer. Your body doesn't just digest food, it listens to it. And when the message is strong, your legs begin to move again with intention. Confidence returns, not dramatically, not overnight, but in the small ways that mean everything. The way you walk across the kitchen without fear, the way you step off the curb without hesitation, the way you wake up and don't dread those first few steps. Let's not pretend breakfast is a miracle pill. It's not. But it's the first conversation you have with your body every day. It's where you either say, here's something stable, nourishing, and honest, or here's something quick, sugary, and confusing. And your body listens. If you felt confused or defeated lately, it's not your fault. It's hard to question what we've been told for decades. It's even harder when those routines have become part of your identity. But the fact that you're here, still listening, still asking, still searching, that's proof of something powerful. You haven't given up, and your legs? They haven't either. They're still waiting, still hoping, still ready to respond to the right signal. So let me ask you, if tomorrow morning you could send your body a new message, what would it be? What would you feed yourself? Not just to eat, but to restore something you thought was lost? You can answer in the comments if you like. Sometimes sharing a small step gives someone else the courage to take one too, because no matter how long it's been, Strength isn't gone. It's just been quiet, waiting for you to call it back. Healing isn't always about adding more. Sometimes it begins with less sugar, less noise, less rushing through the morning without noticing what's missing. Because if your body could speak, it wouldn't just ask for nutrients. It would ask for peace, rhythm, predictability. And when it doesn't get that, the stress builds, not just in your mind, but in your muscles, in your joints, in the tiny blood vessels feeding your legs. And there's a reason the legs show it first. They carry the weight of your entire life, every decision, every responsibility, every "I'll push through it." So when they begin to falter, it's not always because they're weak. It's often because they've held too much for too long, without help. That's why what you eat matters. But also how you eat, the environment, the mindset, the pace. When your breakfast is rushed, reactive, or mindless, it tells your nervous system, survival mode. And when your nervous system is in survival, your posture shifts, your gait tightens, your balance wobbles. You don't just move slower, you move with fear, even if it's subtle. Now think about what happens if you change that signal. Not just with food, but with intention. Imagine waking up and preparing your first meal, not as a task, but as an offering. Something that says, "Today, I honor this body." That changes everything. Because healing isn't just nutrients. It's energy. It's care. It's presence. And in the presence of that kind of care, the body begins to repair. That means muscle fibers respond better to signals from the brain. That means joints stay lubricated longer. That means your mitochondria start generating energy more efficiently. And that means you don't just move more. You feel like yourself. Again, not the rushed version, not the surviving version, but the version that remembers ease. Do you remember ease? That soft confidence in your stride. That quiet joy in walking without pain. That freedom of bending, reaching, climbing without a second thought. If that memory feels distant, don't worry. It's not gone. It's just buried under patterns, not failures, just old patterns. And here's the science behind why changing one meal, just one, can start a cascade of transformation. When you break your overnight fast with a stable, protein-rich, low-sugar meal, you set your insulin sensitivity for the day. That means your body responds better to sugar later, rather than storing it as fat or inflammation. That also means your hunger signals stabilize, your cravings reduce, and your energy doesn't spike and crash. This isn't about dieting. It's about biology. When your blood sugar remains stable, your body doesn't panic. When your body doesn't panic, your cortisol stays balanced. And when cortisol stays balanced, inflammation goes down, especially in your legs. That nagging, tightness behind your knee, that swelling in your ankle at 4 p.m., that ache in your thigh after climbing stairs, all of those are whispers from a system asking for stability. And it's not just about today, it's cumulative. Every time you choose a better breakfast, you're not just healing a moment, you're changing your trajectory. You're slowing down the breakdown of your muscle mass. You're increasing oxygenation. You're encouraging your body to build, not just defend. And that matters more as we age. Because starting in your 40s and accelerating in your 60s, you lose muscle at a faster rate unless you actively protect it. Not just through movement, but through fuel. Your body cannot rebuild what you do not feed, especially in your legs, where the muscle loss is fastest and the consequences the most severe. This is why falls happen, not because people trip, but because the protective systems that used to catch them, strong thighs, quick reactions, flexible ankles, are no longer there. They faded silently, meal by meal, decade by decade, until one day the body stopped catching itself. But here's the hope. You can begin again. You can reverse parts of that decline. You can rebuild strength slowly, gently, without punishing routines. It starts with one meal, one choice, one act of trust that says, my body deserves support. And when you do that, the results aren't just physical. They're emotional. You feel a flicker of control again. You feel a flicker of control again. And that flicker grows. Let's imagine your new morning. You rise, not rushed, but calm. You sit with a plate that's simple but solid. A few scrambled eggs with wilted greens, half an avocado, a slice of sourdough, if your body tolerates it well, a warm cup of unsweetened tea, no sugar storm, no crash, just steady fuel. You breathe, you chew, you begin the day without sending your nervous system into war. And in that stillness, your body hears something new. Safety. Do you know what happens to a body that feels safe? It starts to repair. It digests better. It balances hormones. It recovers faster. And it moves with less pain because it's no longer guarding against the next attack. And it all starts. Not with a pill, not with a treatment, but with one quiet plate, one moment of respect, one voice inside that whispers, I'm not giving up on you. So I'll ask again, what would you feed yourself? Not just for taste, but for trust. Feel free to share in the comments. Your reflection might be the lifeline someone else needs to start their change. Because that's how healing spreads. Not through noise, but through honesty. And honesty begins with what you choose first thing. In the morning, most people wait until something breaks before they listen. The body whispers, then it speaks, then it screams, and often, only then do we turn our heads. But you don't need to wait for the scream. You're here now. You've already started listening. That matters more than you realize. Because the earlier you hear the whisper, the easier it is to heal. So let's talk about what to listen for. The signals your legs are already giving you. The heaviness after a short walk. The swelling that fades when you lie down. The stiffness that greets you before the sun. These are not random. These are maps. And if you trace them back, they all point to one place. Inflammation. But inflammation is a tricky word. It's not always pain. It's not always swelling. Sometimes it's just fatigue, slowness, that strange feeling of dragging your body, instead of living inside it. It's the sense that your body is no longer responding the way it used to, like the connection is frayed, like you have to think about every move that used to come naturally. That's what chronic inflammation does. It doesn't explode, it erodes. And most of it begins in the gut, fueled by what we feed ourselves, not just once, but day after day, month after month, quietly shifting our inner chemistry until the outside can no longer hide it. Why breakfast matters more than we're told. It's not just about blood sugar or calories. It's about what you're teaching your body at the beginning of the day. Are you telling it to defend or to restore, to inflame or to rebuild? You already know the foods that harm you. You've felt it. The fog, the stiffness, the crash. But maybe you didn't connect it to your breakfast. Maybe you blamed age, or stress, or genetics. But what if your body has been asking for help in the only language it knows? What if pain is not punishment, but a plea? And if that's true, then what is the opposite of pain? Not just pleasure, but peace, fluidity, the quiet confidence of movement without hesitation. So let's shift toward that. Let's talk about what a healing breakfast really looks like. Not a fad, not a rule book, but a ritual. A simple, grounding, loving ritual that says, I am here for my body. Here's what that can mean. Start with protein. Not for muscle alone, but for stability. Protein slows down digestion, balances blood sugar, and keeps your energy steady. For most people, this could be eggs, Greek yogurt, or a clean protein shake. But it's not just what you eat. It's how you eat it. Eat it slowly. With attention. With intention. When you eat with presence, you digest more fully. You absorb better. You send the nervous system a message of safety. And safety unlocks healing. Next, think about healthy fats. Avocado, olive oil, nuts, if you tolerate them well. Fats are not the enemy. They are the cushion. They soothe the joints, calm the brain, and support hormone balance. They also help keep your legs flexible, because without enough fat, inflammation rises and your joints start to feel dry and brittle. Now add fiber, vegetables if possible, or a small portion of oats or chia seeds. Fiber cleans the gut, feeds healthy bacteria, and slows the sugar spike. And in doing so, it lowers inflammation at its root. Finally, choose hydration, not just water, but warmth. A cup of warm tea, herbal or green, tells your digestive system to wait gently. Cold water shocks. Warm water soothes. This is not a diet. This is care. This is respect. This is asking your body each morning, what would support you today? And if that feels overwhelming, start small. Replace one thing. Swap the sugary cereal for boiled eggs. Trade the juice for herbal tea. Let your first decision of the day be one that leans toward healing, not hurting, because you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Progress happens quietly. The pain lessens. The swelling fades. The stairs feel less daunting. You begin to move with less hesitation, more trust. That's the reward of daily decisions. Not glamour, not instant transformation, but steady return to strength, to confidence, to peace. And when you move better, you live better. You stand taller, you feel safer. You reconnect to that inner sense of power that age tries to convince you you've lost. But you haven't. It's just buried under habits that no longer serve you. So ask yourself, gently, what can I do today that my body will thank me for tomorrow? You don't have to overhaul your life. You just have to answer that question with honesty, and then act even a little, because the most powerful changes are the quietest ones, the ones no one sees, the ones you feel in your breath, in your posture, in the absence of pain. And sometimes the absence of pain is the most beautiful gift of all. You deserve that gift. You've carried so much. Let your legs carry peace now. There's a moment in every life when silence becomes more powerful than words, when stillness speaks louder than noise. Maybe you're in that moment now. Maybe you've been in it for years, not even realizing it, just moving, surviving, doing the best you can with a body that sometimes feels like it no longer belongs to you. But the truth is, it still does. Your body is not your enemy. It's not a mistake. It's not broken beyond repair. It's simply been waiting for you to hear what it's been saying all along, beneath the fatigue, beneath the stiffness, beneath the pain. And what it's saying isn't complicated. It's not screaming for perfection, or youth, or even strength. It's whispering something softer, something simpler, something we forget to give: kindness. Because kindness is not just a feeling. It's a food, a breath, a glass of warm water, a breakfast made with care, a walk taken slowly, with no goal but presence. It's the decision to say, I'm still here, and I still matter. So let this be your reminder. You are not too far gone. You haven't waited too long. Healing isn't a race. It's a return to something quieter, deeper, wiser. And sometimes it begins with something as small as noticing how you feel after breakfast. We are so used to ignoring ourselves. We wake up and rush. We eat and move and react without noticing. But what if noticing is the very beginning of transformation? What If everything you've been searching for isn't in some future plan, but right here, in the way you speak to yourself when no one's listening, in the way you sit with your tired legs and say, "It's okay. I'm listening now." That kind of listening is healing. It changes how you eat, how you move, how you rest. It reminds your nervous system that it is safe to let go, safe to recover, safe to stop bracing for the next breakdown. And slowly, your body responds. Not all at once, not with fireworks, but with the quiet gifts you start to notice again. Clearer mornings, more stable steps, less fear in the shower, less hesitation before stairs, more moments of forgetting you were supposed to feel broken. Because healing is not always a feeling of power. Sometimes it's the absence of fear. And isn't that what we all really want? Not perfection, not even youth. Just freedom. The freedom to move without worry, to breathe without pain, to live without waiting for something to go wrong. You deserve that. Every person does. Especially those who've carried so much for so long in silence. So if you've made it here, reading this far, I want you to pause and hear me. Not just with your mind, but with your heart. You're not too late. You're not broken. Your body and soul are just waiting for the right signal. And sometimes that signal is a story, a voice, a shift in breakfast, a single new decision that begins to ripple outward into everything. Will it be easy? No, but it will be real. And that makes all the difference. So today, just begin. Choose one thing. Maybe it's what you eat. Maybe it's how you eat. Maybe it's pausing to ask, does this make me feel more alive or less? And trust that the answer matters, because it does. And when you feel ready, I'd love to hear your voice too. Have you felt this way before? What helped you move through it? What quiet changes made the loudest difference? You don't need to have a perfect answer. You don't need to inspire anyone else. Just speak from where you are. That's enough. Leave a comment below if you feel called to. I read every one. And someone else might read yours and feel a little less alone. In the end, that's what this is really about. Not breakfast, not legs, not even inflammation. It's about remembering that healing is possible, that it's never too late, and that sometimes the smallest shift is what saves us. So let's walk this path. Not quickly, not perfectly, but together. And step by step, may your legs become light again, your mornings soft again, and your heart steady in the knowing that you are and have always been worth healing. Stay gentle. Stay open. You're on your way.